Okay, imagine this. You could have a conversation, like right now, with one of history's wisest figures,
Yeah.
moments after they have this huge life-changing insight.
Yeah.
But what if they almost decided, not to share it? And then the first people they try to tell were just dismissive.
It sounds unbelievable, but that's the story we're diving into. It's this incredibly rare, almost personal look inside the mind of someone who reached enlightenment.
Exactly. And it shows his struggles, his determination, and gives us these deep insights into what we're all really looking for in life, what actually sets us free. So today, our deep dive is into 6 Pāsarāsisuttaṃ 1. Most people probably know it better as the Snare discourse.
Right.
And it's amazing because it's not just a teaching. It's the story of his own journey, the discovery, and like the literal first moments of this whole spiritual movement.
It really is.
Our mission today, pull out the key insights, give you a shortcut to understanding its timeless message. We'll throw in some surprising details, maybe a little humor, keep things interesting.
And we'll definitely explore that big difference, between chasing temporary satisfaction versus finding real, lasting peace. Why knowing that difference is just so crucial for your own life, your own well-being.
Okay, so let's set the scene. To really get this teaching, we need to picture the Blessed One's life at this time. The source puts him in Savatthi, at Anathapindika's grove.
And it gives us this little glimpse into his day, which I find fascinating, his routine.
Yeah, going for alms in the morning, then resting in the afternoon at Migamatu's palace, later bathing at Pubakathaka.
Yeah.
It sounds very intentional, grounded.
It does. And then there's this detail where Ananda, his disciple, sees this nice hermitage nearby belonging to a Brahmin named Ramakasa, and he suggests, hey, maybe we should visit.
Oh, right.
And the text says monks were already there talking about the Dharma. So it sets up this perfect, almost spontaneous scene for the teaching to happen. It wasn't like a formal lecture hall.
Right, it just unfolds naturally. And so the Blessed One waits outside for a moment, clears his throat, the door opens, he goes in, he asks what they're discussing. They say, the Dharma, and right there, he lays down the rule for all future spiritual meetups, basically.
That famous line.
Yeah. Sanipatita vo bhikkhave akara andami vakada aryo vatot hibavo. Which means...
Essentially, when you gather, monks, do one of two things. Discuss the Dharma or maintain noble silence.
Powerful standard, isn't it? Speak meaningfully or, well, just be silent.
Absolutely. And this immediately leads him to the core question. Okay, so what should we be talking about? What should we actually be seeking?
And that's where he introduces the 2 types of search.
Exactly. The ignoble search, anarya-pariyasana, and the noble search, arya-pariyasana. It's like a fundamental choice point in life.
So let's break that down. What's this ignoble search? The source says it's when someone who knows they're subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, all that stuff.
Sorrow, defilement.
Right. They go looking for things that are also subject to all those exact same conditions. It's like seeking permanence in the impermanent.
And the text gets really specific with examples, which helps make it concrete. It's not just abstract.
What is the list?
Children, wives, slaves, male and female goats, sheep, chickens, pigs, elephants, cattle, horses, even gold and silver.
Wow, very specific.
These are called attachments, upadhayo. And the key phrase is that one becomes fettered, infatuated, and engrossed in them.
Fettered, infatuated, engrossed. What does that really imply? It sounds like more than just enjoying things.
Oh, definitely. It means you're tied down by them, almost obsessed, completely absorbed. You're not just using them, they kind of start using you. You chase them, define yourself by them, live in fear of losing them. You're caught.
That's a really sharp insight, isn't it? If you're constantly seeking your deep, lasting happiness in things that are, by their very nature, unstable and temporary, you're on this ignoble search.
Exactly.
I mean, think about it. Your own life isn't permanent, so why expect permanent happiness from things that also decay, get sick, or disappear?
Right. It connects directly to our modern lives, doesn't it? Chasing wealth, status, maybe even defining ourselves completely by certain relationships.
Yeah. The nugget here seems to be that real happiness isn't about getting more stuff, but about changing where you're looking for that stability, looking beyond the temporary.
Shifting the focus.
So, okay, that's the ignoble search, chasing fleeting things that end up binding us. What's the alternative then? This is where he flips it, right?
Yeah,
He introduces the noble search.
Yes. This is for the person who, again, recognizes they're subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, and so on. But they see the danger in those things. The adana.
The danger, meaning the inherent suffering or unsatisfactoriness.
Precisely. They see the downside of clinging to impermanent things. And instead of chasing more of the same, they search for something totally different. The unborn, unaging, unailing, deathless, sorrowless, undefiled, supreme security from bondage, Nibbana.
Nibbana. So not just finding better temporary things, but finding something beyond that whole cycle.
Exactly. It's not about rejecting life, but understanding its nature so deeply that you seek liberation from the suffering caused by clinging to it. It's a search for the unconditioned, the unchanging. Ultimate freedom, ultimate peace.
A happiness that doesn't depend on things going your way externally.
Right. It comes from within.
And then the text does something really amazing. It gives us his own story. The Blessed One talks about his journey from being a bodhisattva, someone seeking enlightenment, to becoming a Buddha.
Yeah, it's incredibly personal.
He actually admits, look, I was on that ignoble search too, until he had this huge realization. He asked himself, why am I being subject to all this change and decay, searching for things that are also subject to it?
That critical question.
What if, he thought, seeing the danger in all that, I search for the unborn, unaging, deathless state, Nibbana? That was the turning point.
And his renunciation, the way the source describes it, is so vivid. It wasn't a casual thing.
No kidding. Tell us how it describes it.
It says he was young, with black hair, in prime of life, and importantly, against weeping parents' wishes, shaved hair and beard, put on saffron robes, went forth from home to homelessness.
Against his parents' wishes. That adds a whole layer of commitment, doesn't it?
It really does. He was seeking the unsurpassed state of peace. This was a radical move, especially for a prince, driven by this incredibly deep desire for ultimate truth.
So he leaves everything behind. And his path leads him to study with some famous teachers of the time. First up was Alara Kalama.
Right, and apparently the Bodhisattva mastered Alara Kalama's teachings super quickly. His specialty was the sphere of nothingness, akinikanyatana, a very high meditative state.
So high that Alara Kalama was massively impressed, right? Didn't he offer him joint leadership of his whole community?
He did, which shows how advanced the Bodhisattva already was. But here's the crucial part. The Bodhisattva analyzed it.
He didn't just accept it as the final goal.
No. He realized, okay, this is profound, but it doesn't lead to disenchantment, dispassion, cessation. It doesn't lead to Nibbana. It just leads to rebirth in that sphere of nothingness. So, respectfully, he moved on.
That discernment is key, isn't it? Knowing that even very high states aren't necessarily the ultimate liberation he was seeking.
Exactly. True liberation isn't just about altered states. It's about ending the root causes of suffering.
So, next stop, Uddaka Ramaputta, another renowned teacher.
And he taught an even more subtle state. The sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, the vajnana sanyayatana.
And again, the Bodhisattva masters it incredibly fast. Uddaka Ramaputta also offers him leadership. This guy was clearly gifted.
Absolutely, a spiritual prodigy. But again, same critical assessment. He saw that this state, too, while incredibly refined, still led to a specific kind of rebirth, not the complete end of suffering, not Nibbana.
He just wouldn't settle.
He wouldn't settle for anything less than total, irreversible freedom. He kept pushing, embodying that noble search perfectly.
So he leaves Uddaka Ramaputta too. And he keeps searching, eventually finding this spot in Uruvela. The text describes it as lovely, right?
Yeah, a charming forest, a clear river, an accessible village. He felt this was the place where someone dedicated could achieve the goal.
And that's where it happened. He attained Nibbana, experienced that unshakable liberation.
And the knowledge arose. This is the last birth. There is now no more coming to be. The end of the cycle.
Okay, so he's done it. Achieved the ultimate goal. You'd think the next step is obvious.
Yeah.
Go teach. But then comes this part that always fascinates me.
The hesitation.
Yes, he actually hesitated. He thought his dharma, his discovery, was just too deep. Profound, difficult to see, hard to understand, he thought. Peaceful, subtle, beyond ordinary logic. Only really graspable by the wise.
And he worried people wouldn't get it. He thought, people are delighted in attachment, fond of attachment, rejoice in attachment. How could they understand something like dependent origination or the letting go of craving?
The source even gives us verses he thought to himself, like, wow, this was hard won. Maybe I shouldn't even bother proclaiming it.
Yeah, this dharma isn't easily understood by those caught in lust and hate. Against the stream, subtle, profound. Those enveloped in darkness won't see it. His mind actually leaned towards not teaching, just dwelling quietly.
Which is incredible. Even fully enlightened, There's this moment of doubt about sharing it.
It shows the perceived gap between the depth of the realization and the world's readiness to hear it.
But then the story takes this amazing mythical turn.
Right. Enter Brahma Sahampati, a high deity.
Who somehow senses the Buddha's thoughts, appears right before him and basically begs him to teach.
Passionately. Let the Blessed One teach the Dharma. Let the Fortunate One teach the Dharma, he pleads. There are beings with just a little dust in their eyes who are suffering because they haven't heard it. They will understand.
He really lays it on thick, doesn't he?
What? Oh, yeah. He even uses this analogy, like someone on a mountain peak seeing everyone below. And he urges the Buddha, arise, hero, victor in battle, caravan leader, debt-free one, wander the world, teach the Dharma, there will be those who understand.
Wow. So this divine intervention was kind of crucial. It appealed to his compassion.
Absolutely. It reminded him why he undertook the journey in the first place for the sake of all beings.
And the Buddha, moved by this plea, looks out at the world with his Buddha eye.
Mm-hmm. And he sees it. He sees beings are at different stages, like lotuses in a pond.
Explain that lotus analogy.
Some are still deep down in the mud. Some are rising, just at the water's surface. But some have risen completely above the water, untouched by it, ready to bloom in the sun.
So he saw people were ready at different levels, but some were definitely ready.
Exactly. That insight changed his mind. He declared, the doors to the deathless are open for those who have ears. Let them release their faith. Game on.
What an incredible sequence. Okay, so decision made. Now, who gets the first lesson?
His first thought went back to his old teachers, Alara, Kalama, and Uddaka Ramaputta. He figured they were smart, they'd get it quickly.
Makes sense.
But then, some divine beings apparently informed him, uh-oh, they've both already passed away.
Oh man, cosmic bad timing.
Right. So, plan B. He thought of the 5 monks who'd been with him during his extreme ascetic phase before he found the middle way.
The ones who left him because they thought he'd given up.
Those exact ones. He used his divine eye, located them in Isipatana near Varanasi, modern Sarnath, and set off to find them.
Okay. But on the way there, he has this little encounter, right, with Uddaka the Ajivaka.
Yes. This wanderer sees the Buddha, notices his incredibly serene vibe, and asks, wow, you look amazing. Who's your teacher?
And the Buddha's reply is just pure confidence. No hesitation now.
Not at all. He basically says, I am the all-conqueror, the all-knower, totally untainted. I figured it all out myself, so who would be my teacher? There's no one like me in any world. I'm the Arahant, the unsurpassed teacher, the only fully self-awakened one. I'm cooled, liberated. I'm heading to Kasi, Varanasi, to start the wheel of Dharma turning, to beat the drum of the deathless in this blind world.
Whoa, just lays it all out there. How did Uddaka react?
He was just like taken aback, shook his head, said, maybe so, friend, and just walked off in a different direction.
Huh. Clearly not one of the lotuses ready to bloom just yet.
Apparently not. Some encounters just aren't the right time.
Okay, so he finally gets to Isipatana, where the 5 monks are. And this part is wild. They see him coming.
And they make a pact. They decide, hey, it's Gautama, the guy who quit asceticism. Let's snub him.
Seriously. They agreed not to greet him.
Yeah, don't stand up. Don't take his bowl or robe. Just, maybe leave a seat out in case he wants to sit down. But that's it. A deliberate cold shoulder.
Wow. After all they'd been through together.
But then, as he actually got closer, they couldn't stick to it.
What happened?
His presence was just too powerful, I guess. They instinctively stood up. One took his bowl, another his robe, someone prepared a seat, someone else got water for his feet. They did all the respectful things they'd agreed not to do.
That says something about his aura, doesn't it?
It really does. But even though they acted respectfully, they still addressed him casually, using his old name, calling him friend Gautama, still skeptical.
So how did the Buddha handle that?
He corrected them, immediately but calmly. Don't call the Tathagata, that's the term he used for himself, meaning one who has thus gone or thus come, by name or as friend. The Tathagata is an arahant, a fully self-awakened one. Listen up, monks. The deathless has been found. I'm here to instruct you, to teach the Dharma.
He just states it. No ambiguity.
None. But they pushed back. They basically said, friend Gautama, even when you were doing all those hardcore austerities, you didn't achieve anything special. Now you've given that up and live comfortably. How could you have possibly attained enlightenment?
Ouch. They threw his past back at him.
They did. But the Buddha just calmly repeated his statement. The deathless has been attained. I teach the Dharma. He said it again.
And the third time?
The third time, after repeating it, he asked them that killer question. Monks, Have you ever known me to speak like this before?
Appealing to their past experience of him, his integrity.
Exactly. And they had to admit, no, venerable sir. That was the crack in their skepticism. His consistency, his seriousness now, it finally registered.
That must have been the moment they thought, okay, maybe something really has happened here.
That seems to be the turning point. He was able to convince them to listen.
Amazing. And then?
Then he started teaching them. The text says he'd instruct 2 while the other 3 went for alms, and they'd all share the food. And under his guidance, these 5 monks.
The ones who were going to snub him?
Those very ones. They grasped the teaching, saw the danger in attachment themselves, and they too attained Nibbana. They realized, unshakable is our liberation. This is the last birth. There is now no more coming to be.
Wow. From skeptics to enlightened beings. That's the birth of the Sangha, the monastic community.
Right there. An incredible beginning.
Okay, so the community is founded, the teaching is happening, and one of the most powerful ways the Buddha explained this path to freedom is through the analogy that gives this discourse its name, the Snare discourse.
Yes, it's such a vivid metaphor.
He starts by talking about the 5 strands of sensual pleasure. What are those again?
Basically, anything pleasant that comes through the 5 senses, forms the eye sees, sounds the ear hears, smells, tastes, physical touches, anything that's desired, pleasing, agreeable, lovely, associated with the sensual desires, enticing, the good stuff in life, materially speaking.
Things we naturally chase.
Exactly. And he says that ascetics or spiritual seekers who get fettered, infatuated, engrossed in these things, who don't see the danger and don't understand the escape, they're like a wild deer that gets caught in a hunter's snare.
Ooh, okay. Tied down.
Tied down. That deer comes to ruin, calamity, and is subject to the will of Mara the Evil One, symbolizing temptation, delusion, suffering. The hunter in this analogy.
So the deer can't go where it wants when the hunter comes. It's trapped.
Precisely. It's a powerful image of how these seemingly pleasant attachments can actually imprison us, making us vulnerable to suffering.
But then there's the flip side, right?
Yeah.
The deer that doesn't get caught.
Right. Those who are not fettered, infatuated, or engrossed, who do see the danger and understand the escape from sensual pleasures. They're like a wild deer untied from the snare.
Free.
Free. They're not subject to ruin, not subject to Mara's will. They can go wherever they wish when the hunter shows up. The key is not being bound by the pleasure.
It's not about avoiding pleasure altogether, then?
Not necessarily. It's about not letting it ensnare you, understanding its nature, its impermanence, its potential downside if you cling too tightly.
Okay. And the analogy goes even deeper.
It does. He talks about a truly free wild deer, one that wanders freely, stands freely, sits freely, sleeps freely in the forest. Why? Because it's completely out of the hunter's reach.
So it's not just avoiding the snare, it's being fundamentally beyond the hunter's power altogether.
Exactly. Total, unshakable, internal freedom. And that freedom, the text says, is what a monk, a bhikkhu, cultivates through deep meditation practice.
Okay, so how does meditation lead to that kind of freedom? He talks about the jhanas, right? These levels of absorption.
Yes. It's like a step-by-step process of refining the mind, letting go of coarser states to reach finer, more liberated ones. Think of it like tuning an instrument ever more precisely.
So the first jhana.
That's when you step back from sense pleasures, let go of unskillful thoughts, and find this initial joy and pleasure born from seclusion, from bringing the mind to focus. It's like finding calm after chaos.
Okay, and then the second jhana.
Deeper still. The thinking process quietens further. Now there's a powerful inner tranquility, a unification of mind. The joy and pleasure here are born purely from concentration itself, not from thinking about being secluded.
More refined. What about the third jhana?
Here, even that initial rapturous joy fades. You become purely equanimous, balanced, mindful, clearly comprehending. There's still a subtle pleasure, but without the excitement of joy. Very peaceful.
And the fourth jhana.
This is beyond pleasure and pain altogether. Utterly pure equanimity and mindfulness, unshakable mental stillness, a state of profound balance. Each stage is a deeper level of letting go of what binds the mind.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? He mentions even higher formless states.
Right. Beyond the form-based jhanas, the path continues into realms based on subtler objects of meditation.
Like the sphere of infinite space.
Yes, where the sense of physical boundaries dissolves. Then the sphere of infinite consciousness, dwelling in awareness itself. Then the sphere of nothingness.
Which his first teacher, Alara Kalama, taught.
Exactly. Transcending even infinite consciousness. And then the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception.
Uddaka Ramaputta's specialty.
Right? Again, an incredibly subtle state where mental activity is almost but not quite gone. Each one is a further step in dismantling the structures of conditioned experience.
And the absolute peak is?
The cessation of perception and feeling sanyavidita nirodha. When a monk reaches this state and sees reality clearly through wisdom, all their mental defilements, the roots of suffering, are completely destroyed.
That's the end goal.
That's the end goal. And that monk, the text says, has blinded Mara, broken his foot, gone unseen by Mara. They've crossed over the entanglements in the world.
Like the free deer.
Exactly like the free deer. They go freely, stand freely, sit freely, sleep freely. Why? Because they are utterly beyond the reach of Mara, the hunter of suffering. They've dismantled the inner snares.
That's the ultimate freedom. It comes from within, through this deep understanding and practice of letting go.
That's the core message. True freedom isn't about changing the world outside, but liberating the mind within from the attachments that bind it.
Wow. What an incredible arc we've followed in this text. From the Buddha's own search, that very real hesitation he had, to Brahma Sahampati basically saying, "Go on, you got to teach." And then this incredibly vivid snare analogy. It all ties together.
It really does. And the central thread running through it all is what you pursue determines whether you're trapped or free.
So the challenge to us, listening now, is pretty clear, isn't it?
I think so. Look at your own life. Are you mostly on that ignoble search, chasing fleeting things, getting caught in those snares of attachment, possessions, status, even ideas?
Or are you leaning even a little towards the noble search, looking for something deeper, more stable, a genuine peace that isn't dependent on everything going perfectly? So here's something to really chew on. Where in your life might you be unknowingly tangled up? What's acting like a hidden snare? Maybe it's needing approval or clinging to a certain outcome, or even a belief about yourself that holds you back.
Yeah.
What's keeping you from, truly going freely like that liberated deer? And how might bringing some of that noble search spirit into your daily life actually shift your priorities? Could it lead to more genuine peace, more independence?
Because that path, as the discourse lays out, is about deep self-awareness, consistent practice, gradually untying those inner knots.
Until you reach that state where the hunter of suffering simply has no hold on you. You're beyond its reach. Profound freedom.
Unconditioned freedom.
Well, hopefully this deep dive has given everyone some powerful food for thought, some things to reflect on about their own path, their own pursuits.
It's definitely a text worth sitting with.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep exploring these ideas, keep asking the big questions, and keep digging deeper into what truly sets you free.